Now, again, when you let someone go by, and like I told you with the cam, it only shows so much direction anyway, right? But if they're half a car length to a car length past you, right, you don't think you'll hit them when you start backing up anyway. Right? So, when you start backing up, they done passed you. At least a car length to a car length and a half, somewhere in there, right? You don't see them right, anymore. And you don't back up fast, you still back up slow. Right. So when you're backing up, you're doing this at an angle. But my bumper is still thicker than hers. It's taller too, right? It can't leave just a little ding. Or she already had the ding, right? It would crush her bumper, right? The whole thing, right? Not a little teeny ding, right? That's physically impossible, ain't it? Yes. But no, you want to put your 2 cents in, because you done determined I'm guilty before I'm innocent. Not the other way around, how it's supposed to be. Are you trying to go back to archaic times? Are you trying to make people guilty until proven innocent again, like at the Salem damn witch trials? And there can be innocent people sometimes, and a little guilty too, or of certain things, but not everything wrong, right? And there's a difference there too, I know. Now, the Bible makes almost everything wrong. You do, I know. There are 613 laws, my fellow Jews, you have to follow or you're breaking them, right? If you're not following the whole law, including the law of sacrifices, right? Which that's why Jesus came to cover us all. Even you, and while you're still sinning, Christ died for you too. Now, there's nobody who sins not, and nobody who doesn't lie a little. If the tree of life is the pre-incarnated Jesus, right, as we believe as Christians, by the way, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is Satan, they were both in Eden. There were 2 cherubs. That's why they're called cherubim, or cherubs, plural, with an S. And that means 2 different things in the English and the Hebrew, too. A cherub with just a B is one. Cherubim means 2 or more. And God said, the man has become as one of us. That means the fullness of the Godhead bodily, right? Only Jesus is still in the fullness of the Godhead bodily, too, not Satan anymore. He sinned, right, as one of us, and taught us sin as one of us. You don't get that statement. Or you don't want to get it, or you don't want to get it. Now, the truth is in the details, not the devil, but you can see the devil in Eden if you see the truth, right? Who's trying to deceive Eve? The tree of life or Satan, right? Satan, right? Who got her to eat first? Satan. In his own form of androgyny, right? Who also got Adam to eat of his fruit until it was his turn, right? Devil went down to Georgia. He was looking for Georgia. He was in the back of his way behind the wheel, make a deal. When he came across this young boss on the fiddle playing hot, Devil jumped up on himself, said, "Boy, tell you what, I guess you didn't know, but I'm a pillow fan too, and if you can't take a minute, I'm going to come back with you." Now you play pretty good fiddle, boy, but give the devil his due. I better fiddle go, eat your soul, think I'm better than you. Well, he always says, ain't it? He's better than you. I'm trying to learn the truth as a man. I'm not better than you. I'm a sinner too, right? You know that. And I know that. All have sinned. Even Paul has to make sure he don't sin, right? Himself, right? And he could have, in admitting the truth, right? In saying a woman shall not have authority over a man, though he does use a word before that, usurp. You know that means of her own self, right? Huldah and Deborah could. Mary could. She bestowed labor upon them. Some Mary. There's at least 3 Marys that mentioned. We don't know which one Paul was referring to, but she was a Maria. And a woman bestowing labor on a man is what? Position, authority. Authority. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And we see, but we still want to lie. We hear, but we still want to deny, right? And you play God, right? And tempt the Lord your God, right? Like Jesus not telling you it was the body of Satan you were supposed to eat of doesn't mean you couldn't see it by what you learned up to then, right? Right. Or ask Jesus, why is Eve's statement so different than what the Lord said in chapter 2, right? She's talking about the tree in the middle of the garden. Wait a minute. That's the tree of life. That wasn't the prohibited tree. The tree of knowledge of good and evil was. And it wasn't even a damn tree. I know it wasn't. It was the body of Satan himself, right? But you don't want to see that. That ends your delusion. That ends your lie about it, right? And if you still lie with him about it, you can still die with him about it, right? And kill others who lie with you, right? You want the power of life and death in your own tongue to kill others, as Satan did, right? You think he'd use that, right, for good or evil? Right. That's why it's called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? He also did Adam worse than Eve, right? To hurt him. He's the key to why we all sin today. Not just her. But she's included in the sin, right? So Christ has to be both to cover both. You understand? Right? If I'm a male, I can only identify with the male. But if I'm also female, I can help her repent too, right? If in one body. Say with the Jew or Gentile bond are free, right? I too was bound by them, right? Saith Yahuwah. But you don't want to hear. You don't want to hear. You don't want to see. You don't want to comprehend or understand. You don't want to say it. Dumb. Dumb ain't just, again, playing dumb, right? Not saying what you're supposed to be saying, right? It's playing dumb too, right? And you have no excuse, Peters. Do you fear Peter or the flesh more than you fear the living Spirit of God and its Son and daughter Jesus Christ, who is the fullness of the Godhead body, not 50-50 like we are. We're 50-50. We're in part. We prophesy in part, not in full. Only Christ can prophesy in full, right? Or Christ as a male child, right? Born through his relationships with women. Plural. 7 women, not 1, not 8, right? maybe 8. The one he was married to plus 7, maybe 10, right? Virgins, right? At least once. Though 5 were foolish and didn't keep their oil lamps lit. are oil in their lamps, right? You know what that means, right? What oil comes out the male and goes into the female to light her up? Light her up, 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 light her up, up, I'm on fire, right? And it also can start the catalyst of life, right? But at the same time, right? If you don't want your baby, you don't make her say maybe, right? You give her a choice, right? Even Jezebel is cursed that her children will die with the death, right? If they don't repent as well. Mm-hmm. It's always the problem, right? And usually it's probably a more scientific woman who doesn't want the man's baby anyway than a Christian woman. But you can't make an unbeliever a believer. That's against the Constitution. And always will be, right? That's religion, right? You're trying to make a woman bear a baby she don't want, and she don't believe in Jesus anyway. You can't make her believe in Jesus to keep the baby because you value the life of a child more than the life of a woman, huh? When she bears your children or not, right? Oh, but she knows where babies come from. She knows. She knew what she were doing. She spread her legs. Yeah, and sometimes you pump it, and more than one, and sometimes you want the butt, and not the front, right? That's playing games too, right? God was sending you hot or cold. What does that mean? What does that mean? See, 30-fold, 60-fold, and 100-fold are the numbers Jesus used, right? Even a 30 or 60-fold Christian, though, right, is supposed to rely on the grace of Christ, not his own strength. And to trust in Jesus, not himself, right? Or herself, by the way. Or you're confusing it all. See, like I said, everything even scientists do are about a new way of life, right? Or religion, right? Even scientific community is create their own way of life, and, as in a religion, but denied, right? But you are. You're also doing it opposed to most religions because they don't make sense to you, right? But if the fallen angels claim to be gods, they lied to them. Right? You're right in that, right? But they're also not from where they acted like they were from either. Pointing to a star cluster and saying we're from that cluster is a lie. They're from beyond the stars, right? The fourth dimension, right? Which we can no longer have access to because, again, of the sin in Eden, right? It's a totally different dimension. The laws are different there. They're more like the sky beings, right? I mean, between heaven and earth, right? Or the ozone layer in earth, right? The floor, the ground, right? And they can fly around, right? There could be unicorns there too, just not here. They wouldn't hurt the unicorn and cut off its horns to give it to his girlfriend or his daughter, right? As a token of his love. But you would. And the daughter would gladly receive it. Oh, thanks, Daddy. You gave me a unicorn horn. Well, where's the unicorn? Itself. Does the horn grow back once you cut it off? Or even, do you care? You say you don't you? A lot. Every time you talk to me, you keep saying, I don't care. Well, that's the problem with the earth. That's why you can't have a unicorn. That's why dinosaurs can't live with you. Because of your carnal mind, which is enmity against God and nature and life. Right? You're half sometimes good and half sometimes evil, but that still makes you lukewarm. And he will vomit you out his mouth. Whoa. Jesse. I won't go fresh flowers for you. Whatever. I won't sit by the phone. I won't wait alone for you. But I do. I didn't say which Jesse. There's a lot of Jesse. That's a common name. I told you. Just like Jesus, right? Jesus is the Spanish version of that, and there are Mexican and Hispanic men named Jesus. But you're not the next Jesus. No one, no man is like Jesus. Nor woman like his female, nor man like his male, right? From him. And 3 appeared, right? To Peter, James, and John, 3 men. Is that who's blocking you from the real idea of the Trinity, Peter, James, and John, right? Or is John trying to tell you, and Peter and James are still playing dumbasses and won't say it? Like Balaam's donkey had to speak to him, Peter, but you call the prophet mad, but no. The angel was interfering in what he was doing, right? As with you, right? If you do good and evil, you're no different than the Gentile man, right? Ain't that what Paul meant, right? When he confronted you in Acts, Galatians chapter 2, right? So, if you keep playing, we could have another 4,000 years of this, Peter. If you stay in the middle, you'll be 6,000 years old then, won't you, brother? Because he said you cannot leave then till all's fulfilled, right? You cannot die. Whatever that means. Some standing here shall not taste of death till all's fulfilled, Peter. It's not that time yet. You're trying to rush it. As always. I ain't talking to Pete. I'm talking to Peter. You know it's Pete, don't you, Pete? You're not confused about my language and who I'm trying to speak and reach. Even if it's the spirit of Peter in paradise, perhaps, hopefully. Or limbo, somewhere out there. Well, the earth is the limbo part. The earth is in limbo. We're between good and evil still, right? Of 2 minds, right? We're double-minded and unstable in our ways, right? And that's what I mean, right? But that camera is better, and it gives me a 360 degree, and it also, right? Means I was looking down at it when I started backing up after she passed me, right? At least half a car length, or the length of a space herself, right? Before I even started pulling out, right? And I don't know how I hit her. That's what I mean, right? At all. And I generally play by the rules. I don't have a problem with that rule. You gotta look both ways before backing up. Same as crossing the street. I ain't forgot that rule. Fool. You wanna pretend I did, right? And see, if someone goes past you, right? They're past you, right? Once they're past you, though, is that when they can stop? No. Because, see, they're not at the end of the road either, right? And if there's no reason for them to stop and they keep going, you can't hit someone if they're going to the end of the... Right? Lane, whatever you want to call it there. There's rows you park down, right? Mm-hmm. And I was halfway between, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't back out till you're out of view of my camera, right? That means you're at least what do they call those things? You parking space, right? She was at least a parking space, and maybe 1.5, even before I would pull out, right? Period. But if she stops after she passes, can she do that? No. That's the guarantee someone hits her. And the thing is, the ding don't match my bumper, right? She could have got hit by someone else and tried to blame it on me, right? You don't know what's going on in her mind. All you know is I'm trying to leave and go home, right? Which I had to wait for an extra hour or so, right? And sat in the car waiting for the police, right? Still minding my own business, as I always do every day. I don't try to get into your business unless you're getting into mine. And this is one of those stories where you always love getting into my business, right? I never get into yours. I don't even know yours. But you're half good, half evil. That means you're half corrupted. Half going to heaven, half going to hell. Right. And you make Jesus have to vomit you out of his mouth. What does that mean? Right. Well, like the old proverb Peter quotes, a sow goes back to wallowing in the mire and a dog gets on vomit. Right. What does that mean? What does that mean? No. A dog will try to re-eat its vomit, right? And that's what the imagery Jesus is giving you if he's still trying to save you and you still try to mess with people knowing you're not a Jesus, right? It's kind of the whole point to that statement. But then you're making Jesus have to either re-eat you or leave you on the ground where you're at. Think about it. No man eats his own vomit. Only dogs do, right? Are you a man or a dog, right? Or do you want Christ to leave you behind, right? Where you're at on the ground, right? After you make him vomit you up, right? Because he will, right? And say, depart from me, ye worker of iniquity, right? If you're like Satan, you're like Satan. If you're like Jesus, you're like Jesus. There's no middle ground. The middle ground is where Satan wants you, right? You're still his then, right? You're better off cold or hot as well. Because then you don't know perfectly what you're doing. But if you know what you're doing and you stay lukewarm, that's when you make him vomit you out of his mouth, right? And Christ ain't the dog. He's the master. The dog sits at his feet. You know what I mean? Know what he means. Bye.